You ever get that feeling that the way we've always handled things, economically speaking, might be, well, missing something?
Definitely. Like there could be a better way to see what everyone really contributes.
Exactly, and maybe ensure the basics are covered too. So today we're diving into a potential, well, game changer, this idea of a rating economy.
Mhm.
Our goal here is to really understand its core principles, its DNA, based on some pretty fascinating documents we've got.
And these documents, they map out a lot, right? From earning a living to how global trade might even function under this system.
They do. We're looking at descriptions of the fundamental economic ideas and also some updates, recent developments.
Right.
And for you listening, maybe you want the big picture but don't want to get lost in the weeds. Well, we're aiming to pull out the most crucial, the most thought-provoking parts of this whole concept.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the absolute core of it?
It seems to be this fundamental shift in measuring worth.
Yeah, right off the bat, that's what's striking. Instead of just, money changing hands being the main thing, this rating economy puts individual performance on specific tasks right at the center.
It's all built around a personal rating.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dig into that rating then, because it's not just a general, like, good job kind of rating, is it?
No, no. The documents are quite specific. It's a rating applied to each individual task you complete.
Wow. So imagine getting a score for like every report you write, every project piece you finish, big or small.
Precisely. It sounds much more granular, doesn't it, compared to, say, an annual review?
Definitely. So how do you get an overall picture of someone?
Well, the system averages all those individual task ratings, so your overall rating becomes this dynamic reflection of the quality you consistently put out across everything.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not about one big win or one mistake defining you.
It aims to be a continuous measure of contribution.
And fairness. How do they keep it honest if one person doesn't like you?
Good point. The documents mention that ratings are done monthly, and crucially, by at least 3 different raters.
3 raters. Okay, so that builds in a check against bias, right?
That seems to be the intention, yes, a sort of check and balance. And there's also mention of supervision.
Supervision to oversee the raters or the process.
It seems to oversee the process, yeah, to ensure accountability within the rating system itself. So multiple raters plus oversight aiming for trustworthiness.
Less chance of manipulation. Okay. Now, the big question. How does this rating actually turn into, putting food on the table, covering your expenses?
Right. The documents introduce this concept of a lowest priced line of services.
A lowest price line of services, like a baseline cost for essentials.
Exactly. Think of it as a fundamental economic standard. The idea is that everyone should get access to essential goods, essential services.
And the value of your rating is somehow tied to the cost of providing those essentials.
That's the connection. Even a baseline rating is linked to ensuring that basic standard of living for everyone involved. It establishes an economic floor.
So basic needs are covered, but I assume higher ratings still mean more. There's still an incentive.
Oh, absolutely. It's clear that better performance, higher ratings would lead to a higher quality of life. The incentive is definitely still there.
And how does that work with, say, a salary?
Well, there's mention of a basic salary. This covers those essentials we talked about. And it's counted as a kind of standard rating for all employees.
That's the safety net.
That's the foundation, yeah. But then beyond that, there's a rating salary.
Ah, okay.
And that part directly reflects your work efficiency in a given month based on those task ratings you've accumulated.
So work harder, perform better, earn more beyond the basics.
Exactly. Higher performance equals greater earnings on top of that safety net.
And actual currency, does it still exist? How does it link to the rating?
It seems it can, yes. The exchange value of currency, if used, is anchored to the value of that lowest rated service line. So the rating really becomes the fundamental unit of economic value.
It's a very different way of thinking about what underpins everything, isn't it?
Completely different.
Okay, let's shift to businesses. How do they operate? It sounds like their assets are really important.
Yes, the documents emphasize that. Basing the economy on the assets of companies and institutions is presented as a way to prevent instability, to stop value being easily manipulated.
And how does that work day to day, buying and selling?
Well, when you as an individual buy something, its value is deducted from your net worth. Pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And when a company sells something, makes a profit, that profit gets added to their share, their assets.
Creating a direct link between making things, selling things, and the company's overall health.
Exactly. Production, consumption, economic health all tied together through assets and ratings.
But what about new businesses, startups? They often don't have significant assets initially. How do they hire people?
Yeah. They address that. There's this concept called profit share hiring.
Profit share hiring. Sounds like what it says on the tin.
Pretty much. New companies, maybe without much capital, can hire people by offering them a share of future profits.
And is that share tied to the employee's rating?
Often, yes. It links their potential reward to their performance. And in really early stages, like pre-revenue startups, employees might even get an ownership stake in the company once profit starts rolling in, possibly even before they get a regular salary.
Wow. So someone with great skills but no cash could still join and build something and get equity.
That's the idea. It really changes the game for startups and for people wanting to join them.
Yeah.
A different risk-reward balance.
Definitely. And building on that, there's also something called investment duty. What's that about?
It sounds like an encouragement, maybe even an expectation, for larger established companies, the ones with assets, to invest in these newer asset-light startups that have employees.
Like a built-in support system, a way to foster new growth.
Precisely. The goal seems to be a more interconnected, supportive economy, where success comes with a kind of responsibility to help nurture the next wave.
Interesting. Okay, and what about sharing talent? The documents mention employment partnership.
Yes, that allows companies and institutions to share employees.
Based on their ratings.
Based on their ratings, yeah. To boost overall production or meet demand surges.
So if one place has extra capacity of highly rated engineers and another needs them,
they can partner up and share those resources. It seems quite flexible.
Yep.
The documents even mention money potentially changing hands within these partnerships.
So different ways to structure the collaboration. Makes sense for efficiency. Now, beyond just having a job, what about ownership? Can employees become owners?
Yes, there's employee share. This allows employees to become shareholders based on their overall rating within that specific company.
So your contribution to that company earns you a stake.
Right. And it could potentially even replace a fixed salary, or part of it. A big incentive for long-term commitment and high performance.
And is that share rating the same as the overall net worth rating we talked about?
Interesting distinction there. The documents clarify they're different. The share rating is specifically about your effort and contribution to that company's success.
While net worth is broader.
Exactly. Net worth reflects the value of your rating in the whole economy. So it acknowledges value creation in different contexts. It's quite nuanced.
Okay. Now, what about people offering services directly, like freelancers or small service businesses?
It looks like there's a central platform, akrmna.com, mentioned. Everyone offering services joins this network.
And they list their services based on their rating, like a reputation marketplace?
Pretty much, yeah. A central hub for transparency. Providers list what they do, their prices are shown.
And how are prices set? Is it just a race to the bottom?
Not necessarily. An interesting point is that the highest price listed for a service acts as a benchmark.
The highest price? How does that work?
Well, it seems to set a ceiling, maybe around 250% of some base value. And that benchmark is then used to calculate savings or offer installment options.
Okay. So value isn't just about being cheapest. Rating must play a big role.
It does. And crucially, the price of services is also influenced by customer ratings.
Feedback loop. So if customers consistently rate a service highly relative to its price, that's good. If not.
Exactly. It acts as a natural regulator, discourages overpricing, encourages quality delivery. It's meant to keep things fair.
There's also this idea of rating dealing. What is that? Sounds flexible.
It does. It suggests individuals have quite a bit of control over how they use their accumulated rating percentage.
Like a pool of performance credits.
Sort of, yeah. You can choose to use your rating percentage for various services you need, maybe save it up, or even trade or exchange it with others in the system.
So it adds a dynamic layer, a fluid transfer of value based on performance.
And so, a lot of individual agency.
Okay, let's talk leadership. How do you move up in this rating economy?
It seems very performance-driven. The documents state that leadership promotion, right across the board, is based on your overall rating built up over years of service.
So consistent high performance is the key, not just politics or seniority.
That's the stated principle. Progression happens through tiers, from local right up to international levels, based on that sustained rating. meritocratic in theory.
And leaders get recognized differently.
Yes, with more responsibility comes a higher potential rating score range, which is derived from the company's share value.
Acknowledging their greater impact and responsibility makes sense.
Right. And there's a flip side, too, accountability. They mention leaders' impeachment.
Impeachment? Based on what?
Based on the collective rating of the people they lead. If the team's ratings suggest the leader isn't effective.
Wow. So the team can effectively vote no confidence through their performance ratings.
It seems that way. It could trigger a reassignment to a role perhaps better suited to their skills. It's a powerful feedback loop.
That is a significant check on leadership. Almost flips the traditional power dynamic.
It really does.
Okay, how does the system make sure people are working where they're most needed, matching skills to demand?
Well, the allocation of human resources is directly tied to the demand for services. If more people need, say, healthcare services, then healthcare institutions would naturally seek to employ more highly rated people.
So demand pulls resources.
Right. It helps align the workforce with what the economy actually requires.
And what about training? Getting people into new roles or fields? There's job education.
Yes, and this seems to prioritize practical skills over perhaps traditional degrees sometimes.
How so?
New hires are trained directly by experienced people already doing the job, either current or previous employees. Certification is based on actually being able to do the work effectively.
Hands-on learning proving competence could open doors for people without formal qualifications but with aptitude.
That seems to be the potential benefit, yes. Practical ability comes first.
Now, there's also a mention of unpaid work, like humanitarian efforts, being valued through a humanitarian services tax.
This is interesting. It suggests a societal recognition that some essential work happens without pay.
So how does the tax work?
It seems the network itself provides necessary tools and equipment free of charge to people providing these vital humanitarian services. It's a way to support that contribution to community well-being.
Supporting the neighbors. Okay, so this isn't just a wild theory then. The documents talk about actually transitioning from our current economy.
Yes, they outline a potential pathway. Not an overnight switch, but a gradual adaptation.
How?
Through strategic partnerships, sharing employees like we discussed, integrating services into the rating network. It's envisioned as an evolution.
And the long-term vision?
Is that as the supply chain of rated services becomes really comprehensive, the actual need for traditional money might significantly decrease.
Leading to potentially a higher quality of life, because value is recognized more directly.
That seems to be the hope.
Yeah.
That individual contributions are more directly linked to reward and well-being.
And for this whole thing to run smoothly, efficiently, understanding demand seems critical.
Absolutely. The documents mention calculating profit margins based on advanced demand, predicting needs to optimize production, lower costs, minimize waste.
Efficiency is key for sustainability and affordability.
Definitely.
And finally, they touch on international business. How does that fit?
The idea presented is that international exchange would be based on providing necessary resources according to population percentage.
Whoa. So allocating resources based on need, population size, rather than purely economic clout.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
A very different approach to global trade. It suggests a focus on meeting fundamental needs globally, potentially reducing imbalances.
Okay. Wow. So let's try and bring it all together. This rating economy, it's a really compelling alternative framework, isn't it?
It is. A system driven by individual task performance, rated by the community, focused on baseline needs, but rewarding efficiency.
Aiming for fairness, transparency, adaptability, moving away from potential pitfalls of a purely money-driven system.
What really stands out is the interconnectedness. Everything from that tiny task rating up to global resource sharing seems tied back to this core idea of valuing performance.
It really does feel like a complete, cohesive vision. So for you listening, here's something to chew on. How might a system like this reshape your daily work?
How would your interactions with businesses change? Your whole sense of economic value, even.
Yeah. What do you see as the biggest potential upsides and maybe the biggest hurdles or challenges in making a model like this actually work? It's definitely something to ponder as we think about where our economic systems might go next.